Leighton, good evening, and thanks so much for your time. Now, when we heard from the finance minister yesterday, the AA saying that it was deeply disheartened to hear that and couldn't understand how anyone or how, how government could feel that anyone supported the idea of retaining the system. But are you feeling a little more hopeful after hearing from the transport minister in terms of him not saying that it's here to stay, but that there are some options?
I think we are a little more hopeful than we certainly were last night, Rebecca. I think the problem that we have is that we'd like 100% clarity on exactly which way this is going. We have one cabinet minister saying e-tolls are yet to stay. We have another cabinet minister telling us that, look, we haven't made a decision on this yet. So I think there is an element of confusion, and I think for Gauteng motorists, this also places them in a very difficult position because they would obviously want more clarity and finality on this issue. And certainly from our point of view, one of the things that we impressed upon the minister when we met him in August was that this is something that needs to be resolved as a matter of urgency. We have very many motorists, many millions of motorists in Gauteng, and a lot of these people want to know what is the way forward. Coupled with that, obviously, is the message that we gave the minister that even if e-tolls is to go ahead, our research no threats of legal action is going to make people change their minds. They have dug in their heels, and Gauteng motorists certainly have reached a point where they are not going to pay under any circumstances.
What do you think? I mean, what are your feelings about what we're going to hear in about 2 weeks' time in terms of those options? Because I doubt that we're going to hear that e-tolls have been scrapped. I don't think that that's going to happen at all. But in terms of those options and in terms of keeping, consumers slightly on their side, what do you think government is going to tell us? What do you think Cabinet is going to give us as an option?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for putting me on the spot with that question. I think, look, I mean, obviously we would like to see the proposal that we put on the table for the scrapping of the e-tolls and the refunding of debt and the inclusion of, a certain amount of money in the fuel levy as one of the top options. Whether that is going to happen, I don't know. There may be cause for a hybrid solution, as the minister pointed out, but I think I'd be risking my credibility if I said the government was going to go one way or the other. What I hope is going to happen and what I think is going to happen are completely different things. Certainly from our point of view, we would like to see some things happening. I don't know which way government is going to go on this. I think they certainly have a very difficult decision ahead. And it's a question of how do we get a system up and running that has less than 30% compliance at the moment. And, from our point of view, that's the conundrum facing this task team.
And what do you make of his statements where he says that, he agrees that it might not have been the best decision to introduce a system without proper consultation, that what necessarily worked in another country is not working in South Africa?
It brings us back to the submissions that were made right in the beginning of the e-toll, a couple of years ago, where people said, look, this isn't a system that's been open to enough consultation. People were opposed to it. And I think that that is an acknowledgement that the sentiments that were expressed back in the day regarding the risks involved in putting up the gantries and implementing the system have now come to fruition. And, it's a valuable acknowledgement from the minister. How much weight that carries in the decision that the task team is going to make to Cabinet and the decision that Cabinet is ultimately going to make on this, I think, remains to be seen. But it is something that I think is now on the table, that this is a system that isn't working. And I think that that is an acknowledgement of that, unfortunate and the dismal failure of the e-toll system in its current guise.
And Leighton, I had the Justice Project's Howard Dembowski in yesterday after we heard from the Finance Minister. He says that he foresees that we're going to have motorists revolting, that there's going to be, quite a serious pushback. Do you envisage the same? Do you see that motorists are definitely going to take this a step further, not just not paying, but they're really going to be showing their anger on the streets?
Well, in terms of the revolt, I think we're already seeing that. The compliance rates are already incredibly low, below 30%, which is, as we said yesterday, below the threshold of success, way below the threshold of success. Whether this will translate into people taking to the streets and, physical revolts on the roads of Gauteng, I don't know. I don't foresee that will happen. I think many of the people who aren't paying will continue not to pay. there may be a percentage of people who are currently paying who will then decide also not to pay. So compliance rates may fall. Whether this is going to turn into something where we see protests in the street, I'm not entirely convinced that's going to happen. I think the revolt will more be about people continuing not to pay and showing their dismay with this by just withholding any payments to the e-toll system.
Thanks very much, Leighton Beard from the AA. I'm sure we'll be talking in about 2 weeks' time.